Alrighty folks, want to welcome you back for another video from Yates Computers Tips and Reviews. This one follows along with the other little training video I did because I don't feel there's a whole lot of people really talking about these subjects, and a lot of these subjects are kind of really critical, really important to know. A lot of this kind of just gets brushed over. Nobody really realizes what can go wrong. And this is basically understanding a ULL, what it is, what happens, where things can go wrong, how things can go wrong. Because I mentioned some of this in the other video, but this one's a little bit more depth and in detail. There's a lot of little pictures on these slides. I might not go over all the details of it. There's a lot of information there. Especially if you're a home user, you're probably not going to use. If you're a business user, there's probably some of it, but if you're a medium to large business, you're pretty much going to use it all. This first slide has a lot of information. This is basically a full UEL description of everything you're going to need to know, starting with the service or prefix. You have your host name, sub name, you have your port number. The next one is actually your directory, actually your links, how you get there. There's a lot of different wording you'll see on these slides, and at the very end it has the file type. I touched on this on the other one. I think I've touched on it here, that there are many different kind of file types. And this is where it can get dangerous. So understanding all these key points, I'll go through it more in the presentation here. Understanding each of these points are very important. But this slide is important, especially if you are connecting to a server, connecting directly to something in-house. You will have port numbers. Most of the time, once you go out onto the port to the internet, port 80 or 880 type of thing, or if you're going through 443 through your internet, whatever ports you go out on to connect to those websites, you will not have a port number. Port number is more for internal. So I wanted to touch on that because I don't really touch much on the slides on that. So next one is understanding the protocol. So the protocol is the first part. Usually it's HTTP or HTTPS. So here's a list of a bunch of different ones. I'm sure people have heard of POP3. Not realizing what that actually is, what SMTP is. That's basically your email protocols. All of these factors, there's more, a lot more that come into play. But of course the first two that I mentioned, and you can see from the diagram what they use. And then how it's broken down to the domain name, to the resource. And again, I got the full linked one on there with the IP. So I wanted to go through a little bit of this so people can actually see it. So when you go to my Facebook page, it is HTTPS. And you can look at what the protocol is. And you can look at what the difference is between the HTTP and the HTTPS. Is one secure, one's not. Huge difference when you come into banking. Huge difference when you come into remoting into stuff. Huge difference from home offices. Huge difference. So I wanted to touch base on that and point that out. Because when you get into internet security and you get into those type of things, you'll start to see a lot of this. Home users, small business users, you probably never hardly see any of this. But this is important because this is how you know if you're in the right place you need to be. You don't want to be in the wrong sites. You don't want to be directed somewhere weird. So let's move to the next one. So, of course, you have the host name, subdomain. A lot of times, the host name, they don't even consider the www dot anymore. Most of the time, newer systems don't even look at that, because this was set up for growth of internet so that you can have different places to go. The www directs you to basically where your IP names are directed and all that type of stuff. That tells it where to go to look for those servers. That actually tells you who Facebook.com is. So maybe in the future it won't be www. Maybe they'll put in net, org, something else like that, where you change out that www to maybe hhh.facebook.com. Will be a completely separate internet than this Facebook.com. So there is a difference, but I think they've pretty much decided this is where everything's going to be. Of course, if the internet and other things get too crowded, maybe in the future for cloud-based servers type of things, maybe it will not be on www. But when you go to shop and you go to research things, it might use that in the future. There's a bunch of expandability still there. Internet is still kind of, I say, in the infancy stage. It was created, it worked well, they expanded, they added more domains, they added more domains, they added more domains, they added more domains, trying to make sure a lot of the domain squatting and all of that stuff got taken care of, and they're still developing what's out there. So to me, this is not a set deal. If you start really researching this and you start looking into these things, you'll see this. So after that is actually your domain name. You'll see a little bit of a crazy extension here at the end. I threw this one on here. I know I'll go through some of this detail, but I really wanted to hit you with enough visuals for you to see these things, so when you come across them in real life and you come across them in other places, that you understand these things. You understand where this is actually taking you. Is this actually taking you to the CO or the UK? It's actually taking you to the UK because that's at the end. So for this segment, is the Facebook.com is the DNS domain. That is actual Facebook site. That's where you are actually going to. And of course, you have the HTTPS, that's secure at the beginning. The www tells it where to look for that domain name and how to get you there. As you can read on there, starts at the first period after the host name. From there, you can see the channel, what the channel actually is. The channel is actually the resource path or the route to get to where you need to get to. If you know computers, you go into C drive. From C drive, let's say you want to look at your user files, you go into your user files. From user files, you go into the individual user, and then let's say it's on that user's desktop. You open the desktop. From the desktop, you can open the file or the folder. That is your resource path. C drive, blah, 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 through the user, blah, 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 how you get there is actually your resource path to the actual file. And that can be multiple slashes in between till you get to the end. So, and then you get here towards the end is actually your resource name. This is what I brought up kind of in the other one, where it kind of gets scary, because depending on what resource you go to, it can load a file, it can load a graphic, it can load a website, and it can load more, like an exe, an executable. So this is where you want to be careful on where you take your links to. From here is, what is the real site? I actually have casino in there, but because I was going to use casino names, and then I decided to change it. So here we are at YouTube. What is the real site? And hopefully you know this because you've already seen it quite a few times. I believe there's actually 2 that will take you to the real site. But it might not take you to the right video. It might redirect you to another video, not to the video you're looking at. So youtube.org is the 3rd one down. Anybody even notice that one? There's a slight difference to that. There's a youtube.com.au. There's a youtube.com. I have a dash in there, but it should be a .domain. Guess what? Those aren't the same sites. Those won't take you to the same sites. Those will take you to fraudulent copied sites that can do malicious things. So I just wanted people to see this, to actually see all the information together, so that you can actually interpretate and understand really what the differences are. You know, think about a casino website. What's the real casino website? I'm sure everybody knows them. There's some big brand companies out there. It can get really confusing because they can redirect you all over the place. Because it's one company, but they own multiple companies with multiple names. So this is kind of some of these factors I wanted to bring up. Because really, I can't think of any other business where you can go to other than YouTube or a casino where it will redirect you to things that are completely something different. Like you go to facebook.com, you put in Yates Computers Tips and Reviews. Well, you can go to facebook.com, put in anybody else's links to any other videos you watch. So this is really one of the interesting things. If you go to yatescomputerstipsandreviews.com, it will take you to my YouTube page. So it redirects you. So these are some of those little factors I wanted to bring up, because these are things that I do for my site. There are other things out there that really you got to look at. Really, what is the real site? You always need to check it before you move on, and before you try to log in. Before you put any login information, verify you're on the right site. Make sure you use your links, your bookmarks. Don't take shortcuts. Don't take anything someone sends you in an email, fax, text, any of that. You know, of course, you want to make sure it says Yates Computer, make sure that it's right. You want to make sure. And again, here's another little tiny way to look at the domain name. And you'll notice there's no prefix on there. Usually if you type this in, A lot of times it will preload it, but you really want to be careful on that too. Also, checking a link. When you do a video or you do anything, someone sends you something, here, just click on this, test your system. It'll tell you where it's going. If you highlight over it, it'll have a little pop-up box that comes up. Check that link. My recommendation is don't take that link. Don't ever take those links. Because number one, if you know this company, if it's your bank, if it's whatever you're doing, go to your link you have and use that. There's no reason to take risks on any of this type of stuff. So what you really want to watch out for, man in the middle, redirections, and I am not too sure exactly hypographical, how to pronounce that. I'll have the definitions. I've pretty much gone through 2 out of the 3 already in this presentation, but I'll go over it some more. So you have your man in the middle. Man in the middle is actually a site that will direct you to another site that basically it'll prompt you, it can look identical, it can actually take you to the site you want to go to. It will display whatever site you were looking for. But when you go to log in, the man in the middle can do all of this stuff. They can capture all the information you send to that site. So when you try to log in to your bank, to your email, to anything, your work site, anything, the man in the middle can actually happen through VPN. I want to make sure that you understand that VPN, this does not really stop depending on how you VPN, unless you're VPNing directly to the point you're connecting to, because it's based on your URL, what you're connecting to. If you go to someone's URL that takes you to your bank site and then asks you for your username and password, they can capture your username, your password, your cookie, your session information, all kinds of stuff. Once they have that, they can actually take over your connection and log in as you, because they have all that information that they need to secure the link. The same thing your computer has to talk to your bank that says, I'm who I am because I have my password and all this stuff. They now have that they can do that. Now, not necessarily they'll kick you out of what you're doing, but once you close that link, you don't even have to close the link. They can open up another browser window, use your information, go right into your account and do whatever they want, because you already provided the credentials and the cookie and the security keys and all that information they need. So this is really what a man in the middle is. Redirection is basically when they take you to another site without you being aware of it. So you think you're going to a certain electronics store, certain thing, you get an email, oh, we have this special today only flash sale, click this link. Click that link, looks like the site you think it is, but they actually redirected you somewhere else. So it's not where you think you're actually at. You can be at a malicious site. This is one I touched on a little bit. When you do some research and you do some homework on this, this gets a little bit more scarier. This is just basic information about watching the websites, making sure that the letters you type in are actually the letters you wanted. Making sure if it's you're going to a special barbecue wing place that it's actually the site that you want to be on. gets scarier with multiple languages and other things that I've done some research on, where it can actually be the same letters but a different language letter that gets broken down into a different number, and it can get scarier. But this is one of the main ways that a lot of this stuff goes on, is just simply changing something that looks really similar, like the I to an L, and because it's really small on top, you don't notice the difference. But these are some of the little factors you really got to look at with the UL. Knowing all your safety things. Do you know where the link is taking you to? Do you know all the parts of your URL? Stop and check your URL you are on. That is really one of the big points that I want to hammer on, because I know everybody's in a rush, everybody's trying to get to what they got to do, that you got to watch out for these things. Of course, a lot of these redirections and a lot of this stuff, I don't know how often this will happen to you if you actually just check and you watch what you're doing. And the last one, if you use your saved bookmarks and your saved links that you have, and do not use something somebody sends you. That will pretty much eliminate man-in-the-middle redirections and, false sites. Because you know your bank site. You verify your bank site. You make sure that that's right. Well, they send you some silly thing. Oh, you missed a payment. You need to pay right away. Electric company, gas company. Get all these weird things. You need to pay this right away or we're going to shut you off today. Click this link. Go do your payment. How do you usually pay your gas, water bill, and electric bill? Bet most people pay it online right now. You already have the links. You already have your login credentials in there. You already have everything. So why take that link that somebody sends you? Goes back to understanding email, text, phone calls. You do not know who that person actually is who's sending you that. They're saying they're so-and-so. But how do you verify that that's who they actually are? If you call and you pay your electric bill by phone, call the company up. Call them, say, hey, am I due? I got this notification, I just need to verify. And you should know, did you pay your electrical bill? Did you not? Maybe you don't remember. Maybe you've been busy, you're running around, you need to verify. Again, don't take the link. Don't take the URL they send you. Don't pay attention to that. Consider that as a notification, as a warning, and follow your proper steps you would do if you paid your bill. Go on there, see, do I owe anything? What do I owe? And of course, if they do anything silly like go out and buy gift cards or go out and buy this, or we only take this as transactions, and those are fraudulent. So I wanted to bring that up. So I believe that's the last slide for this. Wanted to touch base on something as simple as URLs. Again, it's not simple. This goes back to the same theory as I just need a network cable. There are so many variables, so many things, and this is what really causes everybody's problem. Of course, if you open an email and you open up an attached file and you open up stuff you shouldn't, yeah, you're going to have problems. But this is where a lot of these issues kind of come from, is you get that email, you go through and you take these links and you do things you're not supposed to. That's where you can get into a lot of issues. So this is really something that I don't hear a lot of people talk about. I hear people mention little bits or little pieces of it. So I really wanted to do a video just on this so people can understand what's going on. How does this affect you? I don't understand what someone says. Why am I looking at, is it .com, .org, .biz, .gov? I think there's like 123, there's ABC. And these are things that if you're in a business and you have a spam filter where it catches spam, it's amazing. They open these new domains up like ABC 123. All of a sudden you get all kinds of spam from them because they're selling these domains dirt cheap to try to get that domain used, to get it out there. But who's buying it are people that aren't using it for good purposes. They're just buying it to spam and spam. I'm sure people are probably getting some of these. I think there was like XYZ, X something. I mean, I remember they started that and instantly our spam filters went from like 500 a day to like almost 5,000 a day. I was getting them at home. I was getting them everywhere. I'm like, really? Like, wow. I'm like, it just made it affordable for everybody to send out the junk. And what was funny was it wasn't like different junk. It was the same junk. It was call now to get this certain phone rate or get the new iPhone. Well, you'd get 10 or 15 of the same thing from like different email addresses through that ABC. It was just crazy. It was like, wow. It's like, if you don't know this is a fraudulent email, it made those emails stand out to be so fraudulent because you got 15 of the same thing with the same definition, with the same header, everything, but from 15, 16 different email addresses a day. And it would be multiple users, and it's just like, wow. I'm like, so email and redirections and all of these things are really a bad thing out there. So this is why I wanted to cover this, because understanding where they're trying to send you and looking at who sent you the email, they'll say they're from the IRS, but they're using a Google email and they want you to respond to a 365 account, or it comes from a 365 account and they want you to respond from a Google account to a Google account, and they're claiming to be the IRS, they're claiming to be, you know, some kind of debt collection agency, you know, whatever they're trying to claim. There's a lot of crazy claims and a lot of crazy stuff coming in. To understand the UELs, understanding all of those type of things will really save you some headaches and possibly some costs. Maybe it'll stop you from opening a site that causes damage to your computers where you have to pay a tech guy to come in and you have downtime. So this is what I really wanted to cover. This is really, and again, like one of the on the slides that I mentioned, think of casinos. I'm sure everybody has a casino anywhere near them. They're popular. Not only Vegas, not Reno, not, you know, they're everywhere. You have Indian casinos, you have everything. So, to know what website it is. Maybe you want to look at food specials. You want to look at what promotions they run. You want to look at, you know, we just had a holiday that passed. Maybe you're looking at a holiday thing. Maybe you're looking at special occasions. You know, maybe you're looking at just entertainment. A lot of them have bowling and other things that you might be interested in, that you want to go and look at their website, their URL, to make sure you get the information you want. You got to make sure you're going to the right place. Because I can't guarantee you there isn't a misleading and a misdirect website to even that. I'm sure there probably is. If you researched it and looked hard enough, I'm sure you could probably find something. I'm sure as small of a website as I have, as small of a YouTube following I have is, I'm sure there's some kind of misleading, misdirectful thing out there about me. because so many of these things are so easy to create, so easy to do, that I'm sure it's out there. So this is really one of the points I wanted to touch on, because again, like I said, I'm a small little creator. Not a whole lot of people are watching my videos. Not a whole lot of people are liking my videos. But that doesn't mean I'm not a target. That doesn't mean that they can't go after anybody who looks at any of my stuff. Some of these big creators, you'll hear stories from them about how they're trying to stop people from using their likeness, their logo, the stuff's crazy. This is what all this is. This is not a little subject. So this is what understanding the URL is all about. So I think I'll wrap this one up. Hopefully this is educational. Hopefully this will help people. Hopefully this saves someone from being in a mess, causing a problem, and having headaches. So I'm going to wrap this one up since it's gone long enough. Thank you so much for watching. Let everybody know I'm out there. Pass out the word that I'm there so people can get this information. This is critical information people need to know. That's why I'm doing these videos. Thank you so much.